Why?
We're live on X, and it looks like we're live on YouTube. So let's get this party started.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Welcome back
Oh,
to Bitcoin.com's Token Narratives, where we discuss the biggest stories shaping the Bitcoin and cryptoverse. My name is Graham Stone, Bitcoin.com marketing operations lead and high priest of the Temple of Hopium. Joining me this week is Bitcoin.com news product lead and resident ETH troll, David Sensel. Welcome back,
thank you, sir.
David, from Hong Kong Consensus. You were there last week, so we'll definitely be getting some insights from that in the show
Oh, yeah.
today. We are also joined by growth lead and meme coin trench warrior, Sal Salamat. Welcome back,
Trenches are
sir.
not dead. They're taking a break. They're
The,
not dead.
the trenches are not dead. We're going to get into that.
Dead. They're dead.
But
Okay.
first of all,
No.
first of all, gut check after market gut checked. So after dropping to as low as $82,500 per BTC, I think the question is, was that the local bottom? Are we still in for more pain? And David, you shared this wonderful chart, which when you look at it, you're like, oh no, it's over. It's over. Let me just bring this up here. I believe this is the chart right here. Yes. So we have the where in the cycle are we chart overlaid with the price of Bitcoin and a large chasm of pain ahead of us.
I thought this was
And
funny.
yeah, it is funny. And the guy's comment is unsee this, which is
Yeah.
good. When you look at this, you're like, oh God, why didn't I just sell it all 2 weeks ago or a month ago? But oh wait, let's get some more doom here first before we go on further.
More
On
doom.
top of that, yeah, we've got the total spot ETF net inflows and outflows since launch, and as you can see here, the last 10 days or so has been by far the biggest outflows since the launch. It looks like several $billion of Bitcoin ETFs outflows over the last, call it 2 weeks. Okay, so
And you have
don't
Arthur
hang
Hayes
yourself
and
just yet, though.
yeah. Well, you have Arthur Hayes and a couple other people on the timeline talking about how this will continue as some of these bigger players unwind some of their positions in the ETF. So we'll see how this continues.
Yes, the beatings will continue until morale improves. But
Are
it's
you
not
guys
all doom and
stable?
gloom. Oh, okay, all right. Not enough.
I'm
Not
going there.
enough. You're
Okay.
going stable. Okay, so
No. I'm going there. I'm just asking and being direct. Like, are you guys stable?
I'm
Oh,
never.
are we?
Yeah, when after a 25% drop, you're like you yeah, not never
I've
enough, right?
I've not deployed all, but I have stabled, and I'm getting texts from people who are new to the space, and they're like, "Oh my God, should I be excited? Should I be buying?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, sure, buy if you want. Have a stake in it, be involved, but don't full port. Never full port."
Well,
And
let's look at some
definitely,
stuff on the
I mean,
on the
going in.
positive side.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Let's look at some stuff on the positive side, right? 'Cause David, this is another gem that you shared, and I'll admit that I do not understand what's happening here. It says there are signs that global liquidity is stabilizing, and then there's a chart that looks like a seismometer. What like a what is this? What's going on here?
Okay, so this is a guy that I've talked about a bunch.
Cross-border capital.
He Cross Border Capital. He does global liquidity, the global liquidity cycle, and he's kind of nailed it for a while now. Um, And the basic idea, specifically for crypto and Bitcoin in particular, is that um, Bitcoin and crypto are incredibly liquidity sensitive, and pretty much everything else is too. But crypto and Bitcoin are the most, maybe the most. And so um, you can see that the orange is Bitcoin's price change, and then the black is basically the global liquidity percent change over
Right.
time. And so liquidity has been drawing down. As you can see, the black line has been drawing down, and then now it's projected to bounce up, right? So um, in this case, uh, he's talking about how perhaps we we could be reaching a bottom, to your point earlier, and in terms of liquidity bouncing up, and if that happens, then we should see Bitcoin and crypto kind of be the first to respond to that. Again, the
So the
only go ahead.
the the black line, that's a projection.
I think
The end of the
the
black line, the
yes,
last.
the end of the black line is their projection moving forward. Um, so
Any idea what
because yeah,
that's based on?
this is their where they make their money. They create this global liquidity index. It's not just money supply, because money supply like M2 is is actually, I think, a minority of global liquidity, right? It doesn't M2 doesn't include things like debt, right? Treasuries, uh, debt held by, like, what's it called, bonds from corporations and stuff like that, all this kind of stuff. And so they have their own kind of proprietary uh, measurement of global liquidity, and it's yeah, I mean, this is the product that they sell to institutions mostly.
Interesting.
um,
Have you
yeah.
heard the theory that it's corporate debt that is about to ramp up or has been ramping up? So debt
um,
issued by corporations.
I've heard that the last thing that I heard that I was paying attention to was there's like a bifurcation here. The largest corporations in the world, like Apple, your Apples and Googles and stuff like that, uh, because they were so cash rich, they were
They
making
don't need it.
a not only that, they were making a butt ton of money,
Yeah.
right? Because they put all that cash into sovereign bonds,
Yeah.
basically U.S. Treasuries, and so they were minting money, and
Still are.
and and they still are. Not only that, though, they were smart when interest rates were low, right? During the COVID crash and just afterwards, right? You had like basically 0%. You know, um, you can make 0% loans. They rolled all their debt right then and there, um, and so yeah, they're gonna have to maybe roll some of it again, but they don't really need to because they're so cash rich. However, smaller companies, um, who don't have that benefit, and maybe don't have any kind of like cash balances that they can draw upon like this, they're getting hit really hard, really
Yeah.
hard. So
And they're the
they
ones taking up more loans anyway.
well, they're gonna have to start. I think it's like last year, 2024, 2025 is more and more of them are gonna be rolling their debt now, right? I
Yeah.
think it's like 2, 3, 4 year thing. So they were at really low interest rates, and now they're gonna
Okay,
have
but
to roll it at higher interest rates, which is bad
yeah, that sounds bad. But I don't know.
for them.
I just want to know, like, I guess you don't have the answer. Like, where, how are they projecting that liquidity is going to rise? Like,
Hmm.
Right. Well, I mean, I know I don't know all of the things, but from a macro perspective, um, other macro people that I follow think that once we have this pain, once we deal with this pain right now, in term from the U.S. perspective, QE will start again, right? The US has been doing QT. They've been tightening,
Yeah.
which is
QE, but
drawing
not
down.
QE, but not QE, right? QE, but in another name.
Yeah. But but once the stock market kind of declines a little bit, once this stuff with Doge and some of the layoffs from with the federal government goes through, and we see kind of like a commensurate decline that affected by this kind of stuff, then they're gonna start blasting QE. Apparently, I was looking at a podcast I haven't listened to yet, but it was also talking about how it looks like China is getting ready to start injecting money again. So these kinds of things will absolutely cause liquidity to be pumped back into the what's it called? Pumped back into the markets. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a nice dose of hopium for us. And there's one
Would,
more.
would that have anything to do with? I think there were recent tweets going around about China increasing the cash supply. So I don't know if you've come across that. This happened
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah. Could be that. Could be other things like just straight up injecting liquidity into um, probably manufacturing or maybe my
Right.
guess would be manufacturing. But yeah, yes, things like that. Yep.
Real world assets.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty bullish. We also have this, which you also shared, David. It's the Bitcoin MVRVZ score. And if you look over here, this is where we are right now. This is from Ryan Selkis, aka 2-Bit Idiot, and he just posts March 2017. So that's a clue. Where was the score in March 2017? That's about here. Okay, so that's about where we are now, right?
Yeah.
And then we all know what happened in 2017. A lot of volatility and a big exit pump. So do with that information what you will, folks.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, I think you've explained this before, Graham. But do you remember the details of how MVRVZ works?
It's hard. It's hard to. I can't do it off the top of my head. Something about uh, the realized value.
Yeah.
What is it? The realized cap. So
So
the
the MV is the market value or the current market cap, and then the RV is the value of the coins when it was last moved or
right.
bought. And
So
then
basically, whether people are in profit or not.
yeah, um, and then by how much, right? And then the
Yeah.
Z score is like the deviation from historical norms in terms of how far away is that difference between the
Right.
between the current value versus the value at the time of movement. And so those spikes that you see on the graph are when you get massive deviations from the historical norm, and those spikes correspond pretty well with blow off tops and then drops.
Yep.
And you can see we're not really anywhere near kind of peak craziness or anything like that. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, it could be right beforehand, right? As Selkis is perhaps um, suggesting here.
Yep. So, all right. I'm
It's kind of
satiated. I
hopeful.
got my hopium for the day.
Wait, just another thing. So that's that's a charts, or as Corbin would like to say, what do you call them? Like astrology, male astrology. Um,
Yeah.
how do you guys feel in general though about the markets? I just on a personal level. What's your lived experience?
It hurts. I so I bought a little bit on the dip, the first dip, and then the second dip hit, and I'm like, nah, it's dipping lower.
Yeah,
So
you were saying with Corbin last week that you exited your positions in Solana.
a lot of them, but not enough. Yeah.
Oh
Still.
yeah. So you're still in.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
still part of the trenches. You're still holding liquidity up.
yeah. Well, I'm not really in the meme coin game at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm a little disillusioned on that front.
I think
I
that's
did
fair.
buy.
If
Go ahead. Go ahead.
not, you go.
Well, I just was gonna say I did like buy a little bit of what I thought was an AI play that I thought had bottomed, and that was stupid
Would you care to
because
Yeah.
share which one?
yeah, I mean I will because I was such an idiot. I like this is about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. I dipped a little bit into virtuals, but number one, it hadn't bottomed, and number two, that project looks not very good right now. I think they're really struggling. And there's some stuff that I've seen come out from teams, basically
Right.
talking about problems with virtuals and that organization. So yeah, that was a mistake.
These happen.
How about you, Saul? Are you have you bought anything?
I
How do you feel about the markets?
I feel all right. I've bought more alts. I I'm of this impression that if if you're okay to equate meme coins with gambling, then there's no way that people will get sick of gambling. And if meme coins have offered a way for people to live out their get rich quick fantasies in the past, there's no way that that will just come to an end just because you've got one political coin pumping after another and week after week of rug pull and scam. Like it might take a break, but it'll come back.
Well, let's bring up some stuff that also David shared here on that topic. We got this tweet. Pump Fund managed to hold the mind share of the
Ooh,
entire crypto market for a full year uncontested. And zero of these 8.1 million coins currently have a market cap over 500 million. Something value creation. Yeah.
uh, this is
no.
I would say the post Murad thesis that I've
Yeah,
heard a lot is basically that um, maybe aside from like Doge or maybe like Pepe or a couple of meme coin OGs, that we're just gonna always need new meme coins, right? We're not gonna be creating these like new lasting meme coins. Um, I don't that's made to me that sounds kind of almost too far the opposite way, but I think that's probably more correct than the Murad thesis. I don't know. What do you guys
Yeah,
think?
I like that idea actually. I heard this, and when I heard that, I thought it makes sense because there's always in the world of the internet and the world in general, there's just like this attention game going on, right? And as Sal's saying, I think like one of the ways that we can bet is we can just bet on attention, and
yeah.
so um, it's just always going to be a thing where you can uh, bet on some kind of thing that's happening in the news or in the world and be like, yeah, I'll get in on that. And I don't know how it's once that thing's out of the mind share of the world, the coin too is gone. So you better be in and out.
It's still an attention game. I think David yesterday on a separate topic, you called the crypto space bipolar is the word that you used, and I tend to agree. So look, if we've gone from the meme space and then we get disillusioned by the memes, what are we gonna be looking out for next? Real world assets, utility. Depends an example of that, and people will go, oh look, I'm sick of buying memes. I'm tired of buying whatever Gen Z is buying on social media on X. I don't want to pump that anymore. I don't want to lose my money. Here's a project that seems like there's an actual team building there, and I can somewhat see the potential being applied in my day to day life. And there might be that trend coming back. Utility is back, as some people are saying. But utility is not really going to pump with the same volume that memes will. So I think it might be a cycle. I think it might be a bit of a back and forth with that bipolarity in mind.
That's the
Yeah,
good question. I mean, you raise a good question I've thought about, and lots of people have thought about. But is this meme, because it does feel like we're in like meme coin exhaustion right now, right? Like
Mm,
this Trump buildup really kind of culminated with Argentina and that whole crazy
yeah.
mess. Are we going to see now like a rotation away from memes to so-called tokens with value, utility tokens? I wonder.
we definitely will, but the problem remains that those tokens are mostly just memes too,
I know. That's what I'm laughing about.
because
Yeah.
there is no, for the vast majority of them, direct correlation between the value provided by the project and the price of the token itself.
Yeah.
That's
They're
the
they're
problem.
basically Pepe and Dodge with a suit and tie. That's it.
Yeah, and that's why meme coins are work so well, because they strip away all that like other bullshit or whatever, and they're just a pure play on the attention. But yeah, just to quickly mention this other chart here that's up on the screen, which is the number of coins bonded per day on Pump Fun, and it's dropped off a cliff back to 5 months ago levels, I guess, even
Wow.
below
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Now there was some contention on the timeline that this chart wasn't accurate, and that like data from another provider was accurate. I looked at that other data, and the shape of the graph looks the same. It was just like the values were slightly were different.
uh,
So directionally this is right though. This is absolutely directionally right. Um, and yeah, so I think meme coins are exhaustion is there, and so then you're seeing kind of the leading, maybe the platform for meme coins, Pump.Fun, is getting a brunt of kind of the hate can be kind of directed at one entity, and that would be Pump.Fun, which is getting quite a lot of hate.
Yeah.
yeah, and the Democrats are channeling that hate. They've proposed a bill, so legislation to prohibit top federal officials and their families from issuing or promoting meme coins and other financial instruments, citing ethical concerns. So,
So late, so slow.
yeah, well,
It sounds like something the Trump family might want to double down on. Like, oh, the Democrats, they want to come after me and my coin. So here's five more coins.
uh,
I don't know. I'm actually like, call me crazy, but I kind of think that maybe like government leaders shouldn't be allowed to have
Yeah.
to promote their meme coins. I don't know.
You're not crazy, Graham. You're not crazy.
well, I have to say, I'm surprised to hear this coming from you, Graham. You're like the most, I don't give a fuck about what people do. So this sounds more like me, wet
Yeah,
blanket David, than Graham.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree that this does raise ethical concerns and considerations with your politicians. Um, but
let's let's turn off politicians' ability to trade stocks, maybe as well, if we're going to do that.
yeah, the problem is you get into all these difficult, like, the intent of the law is this, but then there's so many easy ways to get around it. Like, was it Nancy Pelosi's husband is
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah,
best stock traders of all time, or
yeah,
maybe they're
exactly.
like, no, it can't be your spouse, then it's your kids suddenly. Is like an Nvidia genius with 100% hit rate on.
Yeah, or exactly, or just like an LLC, like
Yeah,
in whatever. There's a million
their
ways to get around it, isn't there?
their Hispanic maid is just suddenly, George Soros. So yeah, um, again, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have these laws. It just means that it can be difficult to implement them in a way that has the effect you want. But I agree. Yeah, it's probably good for people with a public speakerphone to not have easy access to that attention game. Seems a little unfair.
Mm, mm, yeah. All right. Moving on. Um, just thought I'd
Wait,
bring up
can I
this.
ask you?
Oh yeah.
Sorry, can I ask you? Sorry. I just want just on this pumped out fun thing. I've seen an interesting thing. I would love to hear your takes on this, which is Solana people. I feel like Solana people really defending pumped out fun, right?
They're
Uh,
defending Pump.fun. Okay.
yeah, because it's a Solana thing. I feel like they're kind of circling the wagons, being
Solana
like,
is more than
no,
Pump.fun. I'm fairly surprised
is it?
that they're
Is Solana?
synonymous. Like I don't consider myself a Solana person.
Yeah,
But if there were Solana people around, I'd be surprised to understand that they view Solana and Pump.fun as mutually exclusive.
okay, so yeah, this is part of the question. I felt like I've seen the only people coming to defend Pumped Out Fun and like its kind of business model and what it is are like very, very much rah Solana supporters, Solana people, I would consider.
Right.
Um, and I just I think do you guys have a take on do you because we talked a little bit about this before, right? Whether Pumped Out Fun is good for
Yeah.
the ecosystem or not. I was wondering if you had still felt the same way or felt differently or think think that it's net positive or anything like that.
I forget what I said before. Probably said it was good. Um, but how I feel about it now is it's just a demonstration that Solana works.
That's
So
very well
they
put.
so, somebody made this app that like enables unbridled meme coin launching with a few clicks. And actually, as we've seen from the Trump and Melania and Libra launches, which weren't on Pump.fun,
Meteora.
it's like it's harder to rug on Pump.fun than it is. It's harder to snipe and rug there than it is if you're doing it outside of that platform because of the way the bonding curve works.
Yeah.
And so it's not as predatory as it could be. And yeah, it's just an app that works, and they figured it out. They tapped into this thing. They made a shit ton of money, and people got kind of sick of it. A lot of people got burned, but it sort of proved that like the blockchain works. And so if there's some other app that comes up, where are they going to build? Probably on the chain that works.
It made Solana a battle tested blockchain. It just had it dealing with a high amount of volume, lots of drama, people transacting, and isn't that what you want out of a altcoin project like Solana? Just to see that if you really had to deal with that high volume in daily transactions, that it will work and not work slowly. Yeah.
Fair enough.
You look like you're biting your tongue there, David.
No. I'm just
Let
gonna.
loose. Let's
No,
hear
no,
it.
no. We've already talked about this topic. I just think um, yeah. I mean, it's a viable app. I just think it's probably net negative for crypto, at least in the way in the way it's currently constructed.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is not to say I don't think the business model uh, is 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 like innately net negative. I think it needs a lot of tweaks. Like this is the first iteration, and you can get to a place where it's basically. I think you want to get to a place where you can look at the stats and the stats don't look like pump.fun, which is
Yeah.
99.9% of people lost money, right? That's what you
Yeah,
don't want.
exactly. The next iteration should improve upon it. I think Andre mentioned last week some idea about like the fees generated going to the people who create the coin rather than how it works
Yeah.
now
Yeah. Stuff like that.
as a possible alternative. And there's probably other ways as well to
Yeah.
make it more sustainable.
Yeah. Like, for example, yeah, I mean, there's so many different things. Like, you could have people post like bonds. So let's say if you really want to, of course, you can do things where you can just create a coin from nothing. But if you want to show that you are, you're kind of have a little skin in the game as a coin creator, you could put up money and it's bonded to the thing itself, and it doesn't allow you to take it out. Stuff like that, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Put
So
up or shut up.
anyway, exactly. Uh, in fact, when they
All
press
right.
the button, it should play that audio clip.
Okay. You get pumped up fun. You guys can use that.
Uh,
All right. Let's move on.
yeah.
So I wonder if you guys have any takes on the whole El Salvador situation. So to sum that one up, everyone knows El Salvador is a Bitcoin country, but they signed this deal with the IMF for a $1.4 billion line of credit that they get over some period over the next year or so. And as part of that, they had to roll back a few of their Bitcoin laws, like it's no longer legal tender. Businesses don't have to accept it.
Yeah.
And then there was some speculation, I think there still is, as to whether El Salvador would continue buying Bitcoin. And 2 days ago, they did buy another 7 Bitcoin. They had committed to buying 1 Bitcoin per week, and they took a week off, which is what led to the speculation. And Nayib Bukele was on the X saying, "Oh, ye of little faith," when he posted that they bought 7 Bitcoin. So it looks like they're still buying Bitcoin, but the BTC is not, or they have to like shut down their Chivo wallet, a few other things. Yeah, wondering if you guys have any takes on this.
Yeah, I mean, 1.4 billion for a country's economy doesn't sound like it's the hugest loan that one might be taking from the IMF. Um, I'd be curious to know what that 1.4 billion is for, but from what I've read, I think it's to do with having 14 months to balance um, or stabilize their balances, improve their primary balance, GDP wise.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, as a layperson, I don't think that that spells out a lot to me. But I imagine most loans that come from the IMF would go towards some form of economic stimulus or infrastructural development, of which um, nothing like that is being reported as far as the 1.4 billion goes. So if they're taking a 40-month break from buying Bitcoin, then what are they doing with the 1.4 billion? Just to say, hey, we're cash rich. We don't only hold Bitcoin.
Hmm. So, yeah, their GDP is 34 billion. So I guess that puts that 1.4 billion in perspective somewhat.
Yeah.
And it looks like their GDP is growing reasonably in a healthy rate.
yeah.
Population of El Salvador is around 6 million. And my take on this, David, if I can jump in, was
Go ahead.
just like, yeah, so they're getting a $1.4 billion. So that makes it easier for them to buy more Bitcoin, doesn't it?
I think
It's like
there
I got a
was.
loan from the bank, like for this
to
house, right?
buy
So
more
that means like
Bitcoin.
it means that exactly. Go
Yeah,
on.
I mean, that could be that absolutely can be true, like how they arrange it. Like I know I'm pretty sure that there's strings attached to the loan itself on what the money from the loan can be spent on. But the fact that
Yeah, certainly they're not going to allow them to use it to buy Bitcoin. Yeah,
but at the same time though, if they have a loan that lets them not spend money elsewhere, then that money that they didn't spend could be used to
exactly.
buy Bitcoin. So you could basically, if they want to do that. Um,
Yeah.
for me, this didn't seem like a big deal at all. Like I followed relatively closely some of the early reporting from El Salvador. There were some good reporters who were Bitcoin people, who were there, and they were on podcasts and whatnot for a while. The wallet was like a just like a disaster,
Custodial.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mm.
it was not good. Didn't work well. And then the rollout of like the ATMs and all this kind of stuff, that was also really poorly
Yeah.
done.
yeah.
It seemed
People were
like
No
not.
mostly
one's really
PR.
using
Like
it.
they got
Yeah,
the opportunity on camera, and they showed people with a custodial wallet paying for a coffee. But in reality, you probably wouldn't spend Bitcoin to pay for a coffee.
yeah,
Exactly.
and
So this
nobody was using
proves
it.
that this is further proof that Bitcoin is not in its current state suited for P2P payments,
Not at
No.
all.
which is
Although
obvious.
currently, like the mempool, the Bitcoin mempool is so freaking empty. I mean, it's just like it's kind of a
Yeah, but
joke, right?
still, like it's what is it, $1 to make a transaction? That's still a
No, no,
lot.
I know. I'm just saying though that right now, and that's a whole separate problem. That's a whole separate issue that
Yeah.
Bitcoin's gonna have to deal with. That the mempool is so empty. But yeah, so I mean, the fact that they didn't, they pulled back or they reversed some of these laws that they have. I didn't think it was a big deal because in practice nobody was using it like that or doing anything with Bitcoin like that. So um, not a big deal at all. Um,
Okay.
far bigger is the fact still that Tether has made El Salvador its home, right? Like that's kind of
Mm.
the I think you're gonna see massive gains um, for the economy.
Yeah, surely
Ironically, more than
surely Tether
Bitcoin
got
has
a
ever done.
sweetheart deal there,
Yeah.
but they're going to be paying some taxes.
No, yeah, sure, but I'm talking about like now that Tether's there, I think you're going to see a bunch of businesses, like crypto businesses, go and be building and have a presence in El Salvador. I
Yeah.
think I think that Tether moving there is probably a bigger deal than Bitcoin being there, to be honest, right? Like it's
Mm.
and
Yeah.
again at consensus, I was talking to some people who are on the stablecoin side from Tether and from other organizations, even Tron, and they were all excited about this for El Salvador,
Interesting.
Yeah.
right? So less sexy and whatever, but probably from a business perspective and from the country's perspective, um, more important.
Yeah, I wonder
Maybe
if
that's where the
Tether.
1.4 billion went
I mean, to be honest, 1.4 billion, as you were saying, is not that. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's
for a country. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of
yeah, yeah,
money
yeah.
for a person, a group of people, but for a country, a loan
How
from the
much?
IMF for 1.4 billion, it might just be a quiet FU to the IMF. Like, you didn't say we could buy Tether, so here we
By
go.
tether, by tether.
For
Uh,
context, El Salvador holds around 6,000 Bitcoin, which is worth around 650 million at the current price. So this loan is like three times, two and a half times their Bitcoin holdings.
yeah,
So
fair enough. What did Tether make net last year? What was it? Something like
what, seven quadrillions.
I think it was something like 14, 20 million per person, something like that. Anyway, so yeah, yeah, yeah. Many billions.
Yeah. All right. Who put the Bybit stuff in the doc?
I
That
did.
wasn't that wasn't me.
All
It
right. You want
wasn't
to bring
me.
it up? You want to lead,
Yeah.
tee that up for us?
Sure. It was one of those things that, well, we work in the crypto industry, and that's what we're doing most of our waking hours. But this bit of news came in, I think, on a Friday night here in Singapore, and it was hilarious because um, 1 minute I'm on X and I'm realizing, oh, Bybit got hacked. This is going to be big. And there's talks of a live stream going out, and you're following it hour by hour. Next thing you know, now North Korea announces that they're going to have an Ethereum strategic reserve. And, and if you were following the tweets from when Bybit hack got announced, that's when you start to put two and two together and ask yourself, well, it can't really be that simple, can it? Like, so they've been hacked, and then the DPRK says, "Hey guys, we're in the Ethereum game," and
Yeah.
yeah, it gets confirmed. I'm not entirely sure by who. I think someone might have been smart enough to do a bit of wallet tracking
Zach,
and realize
yeah,
that
Zach XBT did it.
Zach XBT, right? Yeah, and that would have been around the time of Saturday morning. So just it took just one night to do the sleuthing and get the news out that the funds were with the Lazarus hacker group, who are tied to the DPRK. And this was a hilarious saga because it continued from the weekend into the week itself, and I think this culminated with news of the DPRK allegedly trying to wash that money on Pump.fun, and they launched coins.
That's right, they
Um,
did.
yeah, to do with the first Chinese emperor Qin Shi Huang, and I'm just like, well, what's that got to do with the Chinese emperor? And is that them trying to attract the Asian market some way or somehow?
Or it's just a writer writing what they know about. It's like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
bizarre.
yeah, that might have not been the only
I
project that
want
they
to be in
tried to
that.
launch.
I want to be in that focus or in that like brainstorming meeting in the Lazarus group. All right,
I know, I got it.
what meme coins should we launch, boys?
Asia has a lot of people.
Should we do Coca-Cola coin? No, that's too obvious.
They should have made a Lazarus group coin. That would have been.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, why not?
I heard funny tweets saying that Lazarus group should make their own L1 or L2. That that's like backed by
yeah,
that's like backed by $1 billion worth of ETH.
yeah. I heard that as well. This whole thing with the Lazarus group constantly hacking crypto and North Korea, like the world's most pariah state, holding all this crypto. It's to me the whole thing is very worrying for like the narrative around
Yeah,
crypto. Like you
it's
don't
a lot
want
of
that.
extraction that's going on, professional level
Yeah.
extraction, and I'd like to think that you'd have to be pretty smart to hack an exchange, and
Yeah, and the way they
if
hacked
you're
this was amazing, right?
yeah,
Like
if you're
if you
able
looked
to
into the details
assemble
of it.
that amount of talent, why aren't you building something? Why? What are you doing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good point actually.
different kind of talent. Yeah, the talent
True.
to tear down. Um, I am less worried about this. I'm more, when you go camping or whatever, you're out in nature and some little tiny insect keeps bugging you, right?
Yeah.
I always get so upset at the kind of the insolence of a tiny little creature bugging me, right? A human being. It's just it's beyond the pale that something so small and insignificant is kind of impinging on my consciousness. I take umbrage at that. It makes me so fucking angry. And this to me is more like that. Like it's just a tiny little annoying thing, and its impudence is just uh,
Well,
that to me is the most enraging thing.
continuing with that metaphor, some of these bugs, right? If you get stung, like you feel that for weeks. Some of them, like
Mm.
like the in Japan, we have the buyo.
That's true.
It'll
The
cause you
Puyo.
to swell up. You'll be like scratching your leg for a week.
Wait, what
And
bug is that in Japan? What's it called?
It's a black fly.
it's a black
Okay.
fly, like
Yeah.
a type of black fly that get basically it's most people are highly allergic.
Is it like a horsefly?
Yeah, something
Kind
like
of.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Ah, it sounds nasty.
Um, that's true, but still, um, it is just this thing that if you kind of if you kind of bend, if you focus all your attention on it, man, you will just eradicate it, right? um and I think maybe that's going to eventually happen to this is what I imagine. Like if they, you can kind of see it with this hack. Like what are they going to, they can't move a billion worth of ETH. It's just going to
They
take
couldn't.
forever.
Yeah.
It's going to take forever. It's going to, which is fine, you know, they can. But if the, if governments, like even the Chinese government, the US government, they really start to crack down on this, I don't know, man. It just feels like the government spends a couple years figuring out where these folks are. You get a couple like ballistic missiles coming in, just like you know,
The
I don't know, wiping out
disproportionate response. Don't just
wiping out
smack
what.
that bug, but grind it down
Yeah,
to nothing.
you get a couple Patriot missiles come in. They're like, oh, it was what can you say? I don't know. You know, I don't know, things like that.
No
Like
more
I
Lazarus.
mean, or maybe I'm just being overly confident, right? That's the other thing that scares me is perhaps it could get way worse than this. But um, I think if you do, if it does start to really get too annoying, then you'll see like a smackdown. And
Fair enough.
I, I
I just
I
wanted
don't
to
think.
quickly add, though, that despite the market taking a hit this week, all credit goes to the Bybit CEO and team, especially with responses from Binance and I think BitGet, who were quick to say, hey, look, if you guys need liquidity, we're willing to help you out. And I think that was a pretty positive signal for the industry in general.
It did seem like a bit of a kumbaya moment
Yeah,
where the other centralized exchanges were like, "Yeah, we got you."
yeah.
And yeah, sure, Bybit was on it with their PR, putting on the suits, doing the live stream like 20 minutes after the hack. Funds are seifu, and it is, as you said, David. It is kind of a prick from a fly for a massive company like Bybit. 1.5 billion isn't going to bankrupt them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, 3 times the size of the next biggest hack ever in crypto.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
So, yeah.
And like you said, Graham, the details, which they haven't released all of them yet, but the ones that they have, it really is like material for a movie, you know? Um, if it
I was
wasn't
thinking that
like,
this morning, actually.
if it wasn't
Yeah.
being used to like make nuclear weapons to attack the West, it could be like a feel good movie about an underdog getting life changing money.
Yeah.
But instead,
Yeah.
it's a state actor.
Yeah.
Affair with a
I was
state
thinking
actor.
about like like a movie where, you know, all these bank heist movies, right?
Right.
And so what you the crypto version of that would have to be like 3 simultaneous bank heists, like for all the 3 multi-sigs at 3 exotic locations. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing, and but in my head, it just turning into comedies because it would just be so boring, right? Like it'd just be like
Yeah,
these
exactly.
nerdy,
Yeah,
boring,
exactly.
Yeah.
boring people, and so you would just you'd have to really like ham it up to make it,
Yeah.
It,
Yeah,
it
you know,
would
exactly.
be
I had the same
visualized as a
thought.
hacker movie still.
Yeah.
uh, like I could just imagine like part of it involving seduction, you know, like maybe some
The
Bybit,
social engineering part could be
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
fun. Yeah.
and it would be hilarious because again, I'm not besmirching anybody. You just imagine some Bybit executive nerd, you know, being hit on by some homely North Korean lady who's not like really not really all that at all, and you're like watching this like, oh no. Anyway,
Wait, hang on.
I
Is
just
this
thought it was
interaction
funny.
happening on Telegram? Are you just like, oh, hey, baby, what's going on? Like over a keyboard? Or what? Do they actually
Uh,
meet at a bar? Like, what's going on?
yeah, well, we don't know. I mean, it looks like there was their physical devices were compromised though, so
Yeah.
I could imagine,
Bybit exec just going
yeah,
home after a long day, just lonely in his apartment. Like, oh yeah, I had a long day.
some
And
like,
North Korean homely chicks like, tell
yeah,
me about it,
she's like
baby.
she's like the checkout girl. She's like the checkout girl, and his local 7-Eleven just looks like a
That's a
stalky
plot.
girl with a
Yeah.
with, anyway.
All right. All right.
Feigns
All right. All right.
interest.
All right.
But
We're
no, wait.
deviating a bit. Yeah.
One last thing. Were you not weirded out at all by the? I saw like 10 accounts, maybe 10's too much. At least 5 accounts all use the same word. They kept saying masterclass. Oh, Bybit's response is a
Right. Yeah, yeah,
masterclass.
yeah.
I saw like at least 5 separate accounts use this word masterclass. And I'm like, it felt very much like a mass media, Biden
Yeah.
era mass
Talking
media.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the whole like joy thing. You remember the joy thing with
Yeah.
Harris? It's like we need more
Yeah.
joy in the campaign, and everyone started
And
talking about joy.
yeah.
And then
And the
suddenly,
MAGA folks are weird.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then suddenly on the timeline, I'm like, Ben and Bybit, they just had a masterclass and masterclass. I was like, ugh, come on,
Yeah.
Mm.
use a different word, guys.
Yeah.
Recycling the same word. I don't like that.
All right. Thanks for bringing that one up, Sal. Last 5 or 10 minutes here of the show. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to bring up before we wrap things up?
I could talk about consensus a little bit.
Oh yeah, we didn't get into that. Please, I'd love to hear. So David just came back from Consensus Hong Kong, where you had explosive diarrhea. Can maybe gloss over those details.
I did.
But
It was
yeah,
I don't know if you guys, not to get into too many details, but what always precedes my explosive diarrhea is my stomach kind of distends like a starving child, and you know what I'm
yeah,
talking about. I always get this like just incredibly balloon
bulging.
like. Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys have that? It's like I'm like, oh god, I know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Anyway, cameraman Daniel, he got it first. Poor guy. So we're on the floor, and I'm having a meeting with somebody, and he's like
Oh,
relaxing.
yikes.
He's relaxing and stuff. And I get out of the meeting, and I just have like these like text messages. Hey man, I'm here. Hey, I went back to my room. I'm not feeling good. Hey, I'm just relaxing, and like this kind of thing. And he shows up, and he's not looking great. And he's like, "Yeah, I just had really bad diarrhea, but I think I'm okay now." So we go off to do this, that, and the other, and then he has to make several toilet breaks. Um, and he's like, "Yeah, it's coming out both ends now." And I'm like, "Oh,
Oh,
okay.
damn.
Are you good to go? We have one more interview." He's like, "Yeah, good." We do the last interview of that day, and in the middle of it, he's like pale, and he starts sweating, and he's taking his jacket off, and he can't hold the camera anymore. He's like, "I need a table to hold the camera."
Oh, yikes.
We had to bring a table over, and the guest, he was like really in his kind of thing. He looked a little upset, like to be interrupted by this. Uh, and so we pulled this table. The guest's like, "Oh gosh," pull the table over.
I bet he felt sick too.
Oh no, he wanted to vomit. You could tell. I could tell. Anyway, so we get to the end of the interview, and Daniel goes, and I'm like, sorry about that, guys. It's coming out both ends, and they're like, okay. I hope everything's okay.
Right.
I'm laughing at Daniel. You suck, fucking weak white boy. And then go back to the hotel, and then I start feeling bad. It never gets as bad as Daniel, luckily. And then the next day, no diarrhea, which is great. Anyway, so that's the personal thing. But on to the actual.
I said we could gloss over the details, but you went right into every last detail of it, and there wasn't really a punchline at the end.
No, I know. I felt like I was talking too much about it. That's why I got self-conscious.
Okay. All
But
right.
the actual event was quite nice. I would say medium in size, right? Like not as big as Singapore or maybe one or two others, like Taipei. I felt was quite big, but reasonably big, and not as crowded as some of the conferences I've been to. But uh, at Abu Dhabi, Graham, I don't know if you had this feeling, but I would go talk to people, and about half the people, especially if they were female, they wouldn't know anything about crypto. You know what I'm talking about? Like it would just be
Yeah.
even basic things.
Yeah.
And I never had a problem with that at Consensus.
Okay.
Um, it was it
So
was refreshing.
consensus, by the way, is primarily Ethereum, only Ethereum.
No, no. So there was a lot of like the day before Consensus, we went to a side event on Lightning. It was Lightning
Oh,
only,
okay.
and this was kind of like some people in Asia reached out to us. Right, we live in Asia. I live in Tokyo. Um, Graham's in Japan too. Sal, you're in Singapore. So we have a reasonably large Asia presence, and some of like the people that we know that know Bitcoin.com, they reached out to me and were like, "Please come to this event. Maybe we can do something in the future." So I went, and I'm a lightning skeptic, but man, that side event was like a breath of fresh air, and it made me kind of bullish on lightning for the first time ever. Um, so like they were very pragmatic. They were like yeah, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. This is how it was going before. We want it to see it go this way. We want it to use bigger players. We want it to, basically. I think one guy who was speaking, he was like, "Look, if you're an independent node operator for Lightning, what are you doing? You're just kind of I'm not going to say you're wasting your time, but you're not going to you're not going to be competitive really. You got to be realistic." So like it was very nice to hear kind of almost a
Got to be
more
business.
yes, it was more corporate, which was it was lacking completely any kind of business sense. It was all like I would say just impractical. So I'm actually very bullish on Lightning. I talked with Andreas, who's kind of running our wallet at Bitcoin.com, and he seemed uh, more enthusiastic about it too. Um, and then the conference itself, I was surprised there wasn't more AI stuff, you know, um, and like there wasn't as much like you would see a project and you wouldn't have alarm bells going off instantly because it looked so scammy. That was very rare at Consensus this time. Um, and yeah, a lot of cool little projects that we met. Like I again, I liked the event aside from the personal issues. Um, oh, and by the way, Graham, I got to interview Jordy Alexander from Steady Lads. Highlight
Oh
of
yeah,
the
nice.
trip for me. It was awesome. The guy was
Oh,
amazing.
I can't wait to watch that interview.
I think it was pretty good, and he was surprised at the end of it. He was like that was a lot deeper than I thought it was going to be. It's
Yeah,
kind of a
because you're from
insult.
Bitcoin.com.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
what I was thinking.
yeah,
But he
yeah.
said he would do it again. So I think I'm going to try to do it
Nice.
again in
Well, let's get him
Token
on the
2049 in
pod.
Singapore. Let's get him on the pod. Yeah, yeah. I might actually reach out to him that way. But the guy was really, really cool, as you'd expect, like down to earth, willing to talk about anything. And yeah, very, very, very enjoyable talk.
Nice.
I wish I could have spent more time with him, but yeah, yeah, that was great. So overall, very good. And then some of the marketing stuff we tried, like I don't, whoever's listening, um, but marketing stuff is important, especially at conferences. It went over really well, um, and I think that we have a lot of like growth opportunity there for that because a lot of the
Oh,
conference
cool.
stuff I think is a little boring. You see the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
I got one question for you, a very basic question, which was like, what about the vibe there in terms of Do people think it's over, or do they
Yeah,
not care?
it was it was very positive, right? Like despite the kind of price action during, like, before the conference and during it, very, very positive. Um, all the people there, you kind of see, I think I've said this to you before, but like I was surprised when I first started going to conferences last year how the kind of vitriol and bipolar behavior that you see on crypto Twitter towards the
Oh,
markets,
it doesn't exist
it
in
doesn't
real
exist
life.
in
Yeah.
person. Yeah, yeah. You see, you
Yeah.
go to these conferences, these people are actually there. They had to fly from somewhere to be there. It's
So surprise, surprise, they're civil.
they're civil, but also they're kind of they're dedicated to doing something, to doing actually something. They're building something. They're trying to
Not just
make
criticizing.
business relationships. Exactly. They're not just kind of like
Yeah.
whining or throwing diarrhea on the timeline. So uh, yeah, refreshing and really kind of the most like practical, pragmatic conference I've been to, I think, in a year, right? Like some of the I listened to one talk, and there was an actual listen to this, this is hilarious. So there's this I listened to this talk. It was Tron, TRM Labs, and Tether, and they were having a kind of a, I don't know, round table thing, sit down thing. And one of the TRM guy, they introduced him in the first like 2 minutes. He was a former FBI agent, right? So there's a Fed on the stage, right? Like there's a Fed. You get all these like
What's TRM?
it's um it's it's a company that specializes in basically like KYC, AML plus like what's it called? Oh god, how would you say it? Like law enforcement actions for crypto
Compliance
funds.
stuff.
Compliance, but also just like straight up legal stuff. Like they're the people will probably are working with Bybit right now, right? And they'll be like calling the FBI like, "Hey, this is done by this and the other. We need to freeze these assets. Can you put a bulletin out on this? Here's the evidence." Right? He was a former the one of the, I think, co-founders is a former FBI agent and
So
IRS
kind of like
IRS agent.
PIs, private investigators for crypto.
Yeah, and they work closely with law enforcement. Apparently, they do like they work close enough to do like physical detainment of suspects and stuff. Right, like
Right.
Interesting.
they'll right like so they'll be like, oh yeah, we think he's in this city because these funds moved here and this that kind of thing.
So they're like
So
paramilitary almost.
I don't think they do any of the actual like on the ground stuff, but they will like to help with even that aspect of it.
So
But
they
I
get
thought
the
it was
intel out and they
hilarious.
hire bounty hunters. What's going on?
I don't think they hire bounty hunters. No, they work with companies like Tron and Tether to make sure funds. It's a whole separate issue itself, but it's really fascinating. So they work with, like, for example, there's payroll companies. There was a payroll company that was on the stage with them, and for a payroll company, the number one thing that they're worried about, one not the number one thing, one of the most important things they're worried about is the tether, the stables that come into them need to be clean. They need to be pristine because then they distribute that tether to companies for payroll, right? And so those
Yeah.
funds, they can't have those funds be, like, for example, being used to launder money and then given to companies that then pay a bunch of employees, and then those funds get uh, frozen by the FBI,
Yeah.
Right.
and because that's a people's money, that's their like their
Yeah.
salary, right? So
Interesting.
they really care about the funds that are coming into their company, making sure that
Yeah.
they're pristine and clean. And so then they pay they work with like TRM, who will then kind of like validate the funds coming in, saying like, yeah, that's clean. We'll kind of say that there's nothing on our end that
Yeah.
shows that this could be mixed up in a bad thing in any way. But to me, that kind of stuff is very, very cool because it's very
Yeah.
practical, pragmatic. You have an actual Fed, a former Fed, working with like these big crypto companies, and then they're doing things that are like super not sexy, like payroll, right? Which is a huge opportunity, especially outside of America and Asia. And just the fact that you need all this like extra infrastructure on top of payroll because you can't be freezing normal people's salary. I love that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, very
um,
interesting.
and I felt like Consensus had a lot of that, right? Like a lot of things like this. That Lightning side event I went to, again, super practical. Uh, Tether working with the feds, not the feds, but a former Fed. Come on, love it. So yeah,
I see
Yeah,
why
cool.
you'd say it's a breath of fresh air, considering the disillusionment surrounding memes and all the bullshit.
dude, what on the bingo card? On the bingo card, there was one square was for a meme coin project, right? Like a meme coin project, an animal. I didn't
Didn't get
see a
filled.
single. I didn't see a single meme coin. I didn't see a single meme coin booth in the
Yeah,
entirety of Consensus. That's a first. That's probably a first, right? So that's probably a
Sign
good
of the
sign.
times.
I think Dubai will be different though. I think it'll be very
true,
different.
true. It's not the only event this year. There's a few more coming up, and I'm pretty sure someone's got a meme coin related project booth
Oh,
lined up
Dubai.
sometime in 2025.
I'll bet either of you guys 20 tether that will have a meme coin booth at Dubai. We'll see a meme coin booth.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys want to take that.
I'm not gonna go take the other side of that.
Are you attending,
All right.
Graham?
2049. It's in the cards. It's in the cards. Yeah. Hope to be
That's
there.
equivocating. I see. Interesting.
All right, let's wrap it up, gentlemen. So yeah, very interesting discussion. All in all, there is bullish signs. We if you look at where we are in the cycle, don't look at that chart, but instead look at your MRVR Z score, and yeah, avoid looking at the ETF outflows chart. Instead, look at where liquidity is going, and yeah, just get that hopium mask on there. Just soak it all in.
Don't buy
It's
any
not
meme
over.
coins right now.
It's not
Don't buy any
over.
meme coins though.
It's not over. Just, yeah, keep stables. Is
Yeah.
what I would do.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thanks for your time, gentlemen, and thanks for everyone who listened.
And you, good
This
sir.
is Bitcoin.com's Token Narratives, and we